art or crime? The rules of street art. Street art is big business. In Melbourne, 1.4 million people visit this one street every year, and it's estimated street art tourism generates $4.5 million for the city's economy.
But beneath the surface, there's a constant battle between what's legit and what is not.
I think it's interesting. Some is very fun, animated. Another one is quite grunge and dark.
Between what is free speech and what is vandalism, what needs to be preserved and what is to be painted over. Well, there are rules, some of them almost secret, and not everyone always agrees.
Sometimes you go there and you can see some of the best street art in the world. Sometimes you go there and it's not.
I always see graffiti as kill, conquer, destroy. Street art was just like, you know, let's own the town, you know.
Modern street art emerged from the US graffiti boom of the 70s and the 80s. And as those pioneers and the movement spread globally, it was influenced by and absorbed political issues, music, and culture. Here in Australia, the scene exploded in the 90s.
Back in the early days, it was, you know, sex, drugs, and Aussie hip hop. Everyone was just going with mops and, you know, it was very political. 9/11 had just happened. It was a great time to be an artist.
Decades ago, most of what went up on Laneways was deemed illegal. Nowadays, the Melbourne City Council has a virtual go zone, a list of laneways that are an open canvas and invitation for street art to be put up and admired. On these laneways, you can see just about everything: stickers and stencils, pencils and paper, photorealism, cartoon characters, stuff that's political, stuff that's just funny, stuff that's just pretty. Basically, it's obvious from here that anything can be street art, and street art is not defined by its materials or its subject matter.
I guess that's the thing with graffiti, is that it's outside of your expectation. That's what surprises you, right?
I call it like a melting histories, just to kind of have a bit of fun.
So is the rule that anything at all is street art as long as it's here on one of the designated streets? Well, no. In 2020, a group of people in hoods paint-bombed Hosier Lane, and that was deemed a crime. So what's the difference between that and when Doyle himself painted a nearby laneway all blue? Apparently, intention and reception.
Street art is more like fine art in the sense that it considers the composition, maybe the building that it's on, who's walking past, who's going to see it.
I think aim is to add rather than take away.
Another way of putting it could be street art is something that you may not have known you wanted, but now that it's up, illegally or legally, you wouldn't change a thing. And the artist, when they're putting it up, really cares about its impact on everyone.
There is a bit of a distinction between graffiti and street art. To me, graffiti is the authentic thing. Street art is the gentrification of it.
In the past year, the Melbourne City Council has spent $3 million removing what it deems graffiti from city surfaces. It says about 112 square metres of city surface have been cleansed of graffiti. It's also spending thousands on protective glazes to protect street art that it wants to keep forever. So far, 50 sites have had that glaze on it. But hold on, isn't street art like graffiti? Can graffiti be street art?
From a practical perspective, I can tell you I see people taking photographs of street art all the time. I've never seen someone taking a photograph of tagging.
I think some of them are just to scribble around, but some they actually have something they want to tell.
Graffiti is very much a subculture that if you're not part of it, you're excluded from it.
What we're totally against is the tagging and the vandalism.
Tagging is a key word. This is a tag. It's basically a scribble and almost indecipherable unless you know the language or the symbolism of what's going on. That can evolve to what's known as a throwy or a throw-up. It's the same thing, just more understandable because it's bigger, bubblier, blockier. That can evolve into something known as a piece. Here, the size, colour, composition, dimensions all become much more important and much more appreciable, even if you don't know what's going on. So yes, there can be artistry in graffiti as long as enough people appreciate what's happening. Another word for a piece is a mural. These days, governments, councils, even private individuals will pay street artists to paint their building, to put murals on it. It's a great way to stop it from being vandalised or tagged because of the biggest unwritten rule of street art.
The main rule is generally don't paint over what you can't burn. That means if you're not better than that, then you shouldn't go over it.
But the main thing is not to be precious about what you do, because this is a stencil art and you can just go home and do it again.
Empty spaces are easy targets, but when something's good, it gets left alone. This green and gold car park was commissioned by the Melbourne City Council. But does money cheapen the art form? Recently, corporations have been using street art motifs to sell everything from shoes, movies, drinks, and some have called this Brandalism. But others say commissioning artworks is nothing new. That's what was happening in the Renaissance period with churches and nobility. And what's happening now can be called New Muralism. And they say New Muralism is the future of street art because artists, including street artists, have to eat too.
New Muralism is sort of like where street art's headed to, not unlike the silo projects that you might have seen. They're often dictated to by the people that commissioned them, but then you've got access to really amazing facilities and equipment, and so you get to do something that you would otherwise never get to do.
But here's another rule: despite how beautiful some things are out here, nothing is truly sacred. Unlike a museum where things are behind glass to be protected forever, here everything is open to the elements, open to be burned up if somebody thinks they're better than it. But that angst is an essential part of street art, and it's what makes it so current and dynamic.
Every artist has different kind of expression of their aesthetic.
Whether I think it matters or not, it's all art in the end, I guess. So
I'm making it better.